Hey guys, I'm sitting here with Stuart, Devenie, local director, works in theatre work, writer, has recently worked on Lineker. Okay, let's start with that again. Hi folks, I'm sitting here with Stuart, Devenie, local director, tutor, works in the theatre here in Whangarei, as well as in Auckland.
All over the country.
Yeah, and recently with Lineker, who's over right now in America touring with her one-person show.
That's right.
Yeah, what was the show called?
Blood Relative.
Blood Relative.
Yeah.
It was an awesome show, guys. I loved it, and through that made friends with Ren, who's an amazing person. So how did you get involved with that?
Well, my daughter actually said, I know this performer in Whangarei, and she needs a director because she's lost a director. And so, because it was my daughter, I said, yeah, okay. And I'd never met Ren before. I'd seen her work,
Yeah.
and was very impressed with her. She's a fantastic actor and incredibly courageous.
Yes.
And so I rang Ren up and said, hello, this is Stuart, but from Directors Are Us, I believe you need a director. So I was living in Margate at that point.
Yeah, that's in Auckland.
In Auckland. And so Ren arrived on the door one day with a script, and we started the journey, which was the most wonderful, exciting journey. Fantastic.
That's a great story.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very personal story,
Yeah.
and I mean, what I liked, it reflected in my own life, it reflected in the people's life that were watching it, and also a lot of people could see a lot of themselves in it and in their own families in it. So tell us about yourself.
Well, I've just returned to Whangarei after being away for 12 years, and I was based in Margate in Auckland, and I did I've been in the business for about 47 years now.
Wow.
And
it's not even, I'm only 45 myself, so you've been in this...
Well, I'm only 47, so I've been
Yeah.
in it since I was 2. But I've been an actor and a director and a teacher. I've worked everywhere in New Zealand, toured from Stuart Island right up to Kaitaia.
Wow.
And it's a wonderful way to get to know the different communities in the country,
and
to see how similar we are and how different we are.
Yeah, I used to live for 3.5 years in Chicago, and so different yet so similar.
Absolutely.
And they roll their R's in a certain way, and each little province has their own little specialness about them.
Absolutely.
And even within our own country as New Zealand, even though we're small, we live in 2 different islands, and yet we're very provincial, but yet we can be so. When it comes to people, we can be so accepting as well, and there's so many different ways.
Well, I mean, the village. I always describe us as the highest tech village in the world, and so we have all the advantages and disadvantages of living in a village, and all the virtues and vices of villages. I mean, we can be very, very harsh in terms of closing people out, but we can also be very, very welcoming in terms of bringing them into the community. But it's great to be back in Whangarei after 12 years. My wife and daughter and I first came here in 1991.
Okay.
So we knew the community really well before we left. And then coming back and seeing how things have changed, there were some incredibly positive things about the community, but there are also, there's an increase in poverty in certain areas and things like that. And so this is what's wonderful about 116. Because it's extraordinary in terms of bringing people together.
Yes.
And the variety of activity is amazing.
It's amazing, the talent, and you've coined this new phrase.
Yes. Envisioner.
Yeah, and you sort of have opened up to all these different ideas of with people and stuff, and that's how we actually met, because you were like, well, we met through Ren, and then also at the theatre thing, and then you said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I do a show about comics, and that's how we started talking about comics. I'm like, how does this person here know about comics? And then you're like, I would like to come and talk about comics in the 50s. And the wonderful thing about that is, this was about a month or so ago, but here at Whangarei Girls High, they did a play recently about Albert Black, the last teenager to be killed by a hanging in the 1955.
Yeah.
And one of the amazing things about that was about books.
Yeah.
You Mickey Spillane, was it?
Yeah,
And then also about the comics.
that's right.
And I was watching that, and because of my passion in youth and my work with youth for almost 6 years as a youth volunteer youth worker, you know, I just saw this and I thought, people don't realise that when they become adults from teenagers that they do the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's great meeting you, and we're going to have